And I mean, now with the Braves suffering all these injuries, like the Dodgers are just mispriced. I mean, the Dodgers are obviously clearly like the most talented roster. Now that Ronald Acuna is out for the season in the National League, I would at least say. But yeah, I mean, if I'm doing any futures or if I'm looking at any futures, I don't even know what I would do in the National League now that the Phillies prices are gone. Because the Dodgers, again, mispriced. If you're doing anything with the Dodgers, you're just waiting and seeing if there's like an injury or a little bit of a struggle.
What about Diamondbacks?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't.
That's a big price. It's a big number. If you feel like, I mean, it's still early. If you feel like they can turn things around, or maybe the Padres.
Yeah, geez, like with the Padres, 2 years in a row, I played Padres futures.
I know.
And now that like they completely like kind of gutted that roster from where it was.
They're able to hit that damn ball though.
Oh yeah,
that's what they do.
Yeah, I don't know if I would wait. Or I mean, I don't think I would do anything now. I think you could probably still wait. I mean, like look at the NL East. You have the Phillies at 38-17. And then it's the Braves, and then it's the Nats, the Mets, and the Marlins. I don't take any of those teams serious. In the NL Central, I wouldn't play any of these teams to actually make a run. I mean, the Brewers, I just don't think have the talent. The Cubs, if you're doing anything, just take them to win the NL Central. They're 4.5 games back, but they're 2-8 in their last 10. They should make a couple moves. Or you look at the Cardinals or the Pirates. And then the West, yeah, I think I'd have to agree. Maybe the Diamondbacks, but man, they're 3 games below 500, and every time I start to feel a little bit better, they drop a couple. They're 5-5 in their last 10. They've just been so inconsistent. Padres, the Giants. I mean, the Giants right now are in second place in the West at 28-27. The Dodgers are just so much better than everybody, and they're not even playing their best baseball. Only 5-5 in their last 10.
They'll flame out though in the postseason, like they always do.
Most likely.
That's what they do. That's just like what they do.
Yeah, next year, though, they probably get a little bit better with Ohtani just being able to pitch again.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're fun, though.
Yeah. I mean, that roster is absolutely crazy. It's like a Major League Baseball The Show roster. 12-10 right now, Minnesota. Rudy Gobert gets to the cup. We'll take that. 14-10, 5:40 to go. Keep the scoring down.
You surprised that the Giants are like as good as they are?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, because like the last couple off seasons, I just thought that they were going to make a huge move. I thought Aaron Judge was going to be a Giant. I didn't know that the Yankees were going to bring him back or be able to bring him back. Yeah, I don't really trust anybody in the National League. In the American League, I'm still on the O's. Coming around on the Yankees, though, of course.
How could you not?
The West, I have no clue. I mean, eventually, probably the Astros end up winning the division. But the last 3 years I played Seattle, I really like the rotation, but it just feels like, again, there's something missing. Toronto's the same team that they are every single year in the East.
Let me ask you this about the Yankees, though. And I know that we said maybe they're real.
Yeah.
But, like, does it scare you? Because the whole thing about the Yankees and what they normally do is they're just like a mashing team. Like, if they go yard, everything's good. If they don't, and when the bats go cold, they really struggle. They lead the American League in home runs. And to me, that might say to you that this is like a good, sustainable thing. To me, that's the one thing that gives me the most pause.
Like it's home run or bust for them?
Correct.
Yeah, so they're second right now in OBP. They're second in OPS, third in RBI, and then their pitching staff without Garrett Cole has a 2.86 ERA.
Crazy.
A 1.15 EAP. I mean, their whip is 7th in Major League Baseball, and they're going to get Garrett Cole back, and they're the Yankees, so they could make some moves. Ronald Acuna tears his ACL, terrible injury. They're 6 games out of the lead. They're 30-21, 4-6 in their last 10. Do the Braves even make the postseason? Do you give them a shot to still win the East? Do they have to make a move? A lot of questions with the Braves. Go anywhere you want with this team right now.
I think for a while there, you think, because I know people pointed to the Phillies, early strength of schedule or lack thereof, and that's kind of the one sort of thing that they have no control over that you could maybe point to and say, oh, well, they haven't played a ton of tough competition. And that team is good. Like, they are stacked. When they do play teams that are 500 above, they still perform well. For a while there, I think you would still think the Braves are favorites. That's changed, obviously, now. I think you got to say the Phillies are the favorites to win the division. Could the Braves still do it? I mean, absolutely. It's still a stacked group. I think what Sale's done is huge for that pitching staff. Ronaldo Lopez, obviously, has been great for them. But, you're definitely feeling that's not quite as good anymore, and it's not about the pitching. It's about the offense. I guess the bright side of that is you think at some point they got to get going, but you look up and down the lineup, there's really no one other than Zuna who's been performing to the level that you think they can. Some of the stuff, I mean, if you were to look at one of those guys before the Acuna injury, that you were maybe most concerned with, it probably was Acuna, just because you saw that strikeout rate really climb back up. He wasn't hitting the ball as hard anymore. So just kind of the under the hood stuff that was a little more concerning. The rest of these guys, I think you look at Olsen, he's still hitting the ball really hard. I know he's striking out a little bit more. He's been better in May. I expect him to get going. Albies has not been hitting the ball as hard. Harris has been chasing a little more. Riley's been banged up. But, man, they still have the pieces around there that's going to be a really, really scary team. I do expect them to still make the postseason. I wouldn't pick them to win the East, but that's still not a team I don't think you'd be super excited to be facing in October.
Who do you like right now for the AL MVP? Because at one point we could have gotten Aaron Judge at like 18-1.
Yeah, that's going to be one. I think NL Rookie of the Year and AL MVP are going to be probably the two most exciting awards races that we're going to see. I mean, I think with the heater that Judge is on right now, I think I wouldn't bet against that. I think it's kind of amazing that we're you look at NL MVP. I mean, both of the MVP races are going to be great. The fact that I know you didn't mention AL, but that we're even talking about Ohtani as a DH only as a possibility there. That's pretty crazy. But AL MVP will be exciting. I mean, you got obviously Judge and Soto, and with what Gunnar Henderson's doing right now, that's going to be awesome to watch. Bobby Witt's going to be part of that mix. We're not talking about Salvador Perez, but like he's been insane for Kansas City too. And then we get Jose Ramirez, who's just, it seems like, is knocking in 1 or 2 runs every single night. So I think Judge is, for me, probably the favorite just with the heater that he's on right now. But it would not shock me if any of those guys we just talked about end up winning that award.
What do you think about Christy Sides and how she's been using Caitlin Clark? Because it feels like she hasn't been necessarily always the primary ball handler, and the way that these defenses are picking her up, I feel like there's got to be ways to get her to her spots easier.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit tough for Christy Sides. It's a lose-lose because we've never seen her in the pros and what Caitlin Clark's going to do against certain different looks. And honestly, these different teams are going to be throwing different looks and different skill sets at her. So I'm a little bit in my own camp where I'm like, I'm not hitting the panic or, any pressure on Sides yet, because I like what she's done. If you look at the games, she's really tried to use her in a variety of ways throughout the games, in different ways each game. So I think she's kind of trying to get an understanding of, okay, where is she going to succeed at this level? And once we know that, then we can start to kind of form the team around her.
Yeah, and the Fever, by the way, have played how many games in the first 11 games? 11 games in 20 days.
Yeah.
And obviously the reason for that is to market Caitlin Clark. Do you think that's like a fair thing to do to any WNBA team, let alone the worst WNBA team from last year?
Look, there's many complaints to be made about the schedule makers in every league, and specifically the W. Do not get me wrong. Every year one team has to do it. The W is trying to capitalize on this. If anything, I would say that there's more shade to be thrown at how they stumbled on the charter jet rollout than necessarily playing her that many games early on. Look, she's going to play a lot, and then she's going to get a little bit of a break, and she'll have, some rested toes for the end of the season. So it might actually be smart. Capitalize early on, get all the eyes on the league, and then give her some rest so she can really succeed late in the season.